Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Counselor's Couch 101. I am Jim Stump, and I thank you for your comments and your emails. Recently, I posted a video on starter wives, starter husbands, and starter wives. And after looking at the comments and talking to other people and getting reactions from folks on that one, I thought to myself, I should have called it Starter Lives. It seems like human beings don't know how to do the things that they really should be doing. We don't know how to do it well or efficiently. We end up in the wrong place with the wrong person doing the wrong thing. Now, where did all that disconnect take place, right? How does it happen that we end up in those circumstances and those situations? And I thought about that. I said, it's kind of like no one taught us how to live, right? I did receive one comment from a lady. I don't have permission to use anybody's name or anything, but you might find it if you go back and look at that. And she said that she married very young and she'd been very happily married for a number of decades. And I said, that's wonderful. That's exactly how I thought it should go, right? And I remember earlier in my career with people, I was working with groups of senior citizens, and I often asked them how they stayed together over the decades. I said, how does that work? Everybody I know is getting divorced left and right? Parents, brothers, sisters, neighbors, friends, all sorts of folks. Everyone's getting divorced. How did these senior citizens manage to stay married for 40 and even 50 years, right? And everyone told me the same thing. They had various ways they expressed it, but it was all the same idea. They said, we made a vow and we meant to keep it. And the vow was a marriage vow till death do us part. They had hard times. They had situations and they wanted to be away from their partner or divorce their partner or start life over. But they didn't because they made a vow. And that was probably the difference. I remember a friend of mine told me not that long ago, she said the secret is find someone you love and fix all the rest. Find someone you love and fix all the rest. Back in the day, I think that's pretty much how it went. There once was a time when people would get married out of high school, and that was not considered to be a bad thing or too young or anything of that sort. It was more or less natural. After they finished high school, they were going to go on about their lives and work in whatever career or jobs they were going to do. So they would take a partner. And because they were so young and didn't know about life or relationships or much of anything else, they would grow together because they had committed to stay together. And as they experienced life, they would grew closer and they grew in understanding because the one could offer a perspective to the other that the other didn't have, right? And vice versa. They took care of each other. They grew together. They matured together. And by mature, I don't mean age. I mean in outlook on life and behavior and in the way they were in the world. And then they grew more in acceptance, right? Because they figured it all out. They figured it out together. They did all this stuff with a partner, and that seemed to work. And that made the family strong. It made the relationship strong, and it made for a lot of happiness with a lot of people. Were every day happy? Every day wonderful? No, of course not. Got to go to work for 50 or 60 years. That alone should make people feel a little bit like God made a mistake in the design, right? But I guess it wasn't God who made the mistake. He gave us the Garden of Eden. What happened to that? Anyway, the idea is, what do we do now? People, they don't know how to be in the world. They don't know how to choose a partner. They don't know how to stay with a partner. They don't know how to get it done. And so many people I see who are even staying married when they're obviously not happy in the marriage. That doesn't seem to be working, right? I'm not fond of divorce, but as Dennis Prager said, marriage should not be a life sentence. I'm not advocating divorce. I'm advocating let's do it right the first time. I said this in a couple of videos back. I said a lot of people, they're foregoing all the legal ease. They're just simply moving in together. They want to have kids, they have kids, but they're not going to get married because they feel like they'll be punished if they do it. Government taxes families higher than they do single people. And when you're retired, The government only gives you one Social Security, even though both of you worked for 40, 50, 60 years. They only give you one. You're being punished. We have to figure out how to do this right. And I'm certain it doesn't come from like one entity. You would have thought that the family would have taught that just by being a family. A person would have learned how to do those things, how to form relationships, how to stay in relationship, how to be committed, how to vow to stay together for a lifetime and achieve it, right? You'd have thought the family would have taught that. But not only that, it's that old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. What that means is the community around children, the community around people, adults and senior citizens and everything else, gives the message. It shows the way to behave. It gives a moral code. It lets people know what's a good thing to do. And when they step out of that path, they can say, hey, look, this is what's going to happen if you progress down this path you've chosen. It's not going to work. You're not going to be happy. It held everybody together. It held us, I don't want to say in line, but in proper attitude toward our partners and our neighbors and everyone else. Yes, churches taught it too. Nowadays, we seem to have lost that, particularly in big cities. I'm in Los Angeles. I've lived here most of my life. Went away to college to the East Coast, folks. I'll tell you about that some other day. But I lived here most of my life. I know what it's like here. We don't know our neighbors. We're not close. There's not that sense of community to help us find our way and to support us. I once knew a preacher. He talked about marriage once at a church service. He said he's really good at weddings because he not only told the couple that they were committing themselves to one another for their entire lives. He said he spoke to the congregation, the witnesses who came to the wedding. He said, you have a responsibility too. When these people have hard times, and they will have hard times, you support the relationship. You support the marriage. Don't go running up to them and tell them to get rid of her. Don't go running up to her and tell her to file for divorce. Support the relationship. Help them in any way you can. That's a good a definition of what communities should be doing. Community. We're all supposed to be supporting each other in these things. We're supposed to help each other along. And that's what makes for happiness, right? That's what makes for things being successful. So all those senior citizens were from previous generation. The ones that I met in my day were pretty much from the, I want to say the great generation. They were slightly after the World War II veterans, right? Just slightly. Some of them had been on the cusp of World War II. Maybe the men went to Korea, something like that. But they were from that generation, and they knew the great generation, the one that sacrificed for country. What do they say? God and country, and for your neighbors. People who would go out and put their lives on the line. They would risk their lives for the benefit of the group and the country. We don't seem to have a lot of that anymore. How do we get it back? I think we have to start in small groups. And by small groups, I mean each one of us providing that sort of support and moral code or direction to each other. Now, I'm not saying to dictate how someone should be in the world, right? I'm just saying that when something comes up and you can assist somebody with a positive observation or remark or anything of that sort, that you do it. You support the relationship. You support the community. You support people helping each other along the way. If we can do that one-to-one, you don't have to save the entire world. I didn't cure cancer. I have not stopped the war in Ukraine. But if I can reach out to the people who are in my sphere, in my circle of influence, if I can do that, I will have done something. Small ripples in a pond. If they all gather together, yes, they can create a tsunami. It's true. Just saying, folks. Support each other. I think that's the way to start getting this back. Support each other and help each other be happy. And support relationships where you can, right? And caution people from getting into bad relationships. It's better to wait and choose correctly than to hurry up and choose poorly or in a rush and be unhappy and miserable for the rest of your life or a part of it. Anyway, just some thoughts. I wish you all well. Thank you for stopping by. I look forward to talking with you next time.